There comes a moment in every life when the noise of the world begins to feel heavier than usual. It's in that moment that we start looking for something real, something meaningful. Not in applause, not in validation, but in quiet transformation. There's something powerful about building yourself quietly. In a world obsessed with attention, silence is rebellion. But more than rebellion, it is strategy. Because noise can distract, but silence can build. When you build yourself quietly, you remove the temptation to prove and replace it with the desire to improve. This journey of quiet building doesn't start with a crowd. It begins in solitude, with you, your flaws, your strengths, your dreams, and your discipline. And there are 6 ways to walk this path, 6 principles that won't ask for attention, but will demand everything from you. If you can master them, you won't just achieve success. You will become unshakable, unbreakable, and undeniably strong. The first way is self-awareness. Before you can build, you have to know what you're building. Not what others expect from you, not what trends demand of you, but what truly aligns with who you are. Self-awareness is brutal honesty wrapped in quiet reflection. It's being able to look in the mirror without filters or excuses and say, this is where I am, and this is what I want, and this is what I must do, without self-awareness scattered. But with it, every action becomes intentional. Quiet builders don't rush, they listen. To their heart, to their patterns, to the lessons life tries to teach them, they know when to pause, when to push, and when to pivot. And they learn to love the process of knowing themselves better every day. The second way is discipline. This is the backbone of every transformation. Not motivation, because motivation is lighting and unpredictable. Discipline is quiet, firm, and constant. It shows up when you don't want to. It stays when everything inside you screams to quit. It whispers, just one more rep, when no one is watching. And the truth is, most people won't see the nights you sacrificed, the comforts you gave up, or the battles you fought alone. But you will. And every time you choose discipline over ease, you lay a brick in the foundation of the life you're building. The quiet builder doesn't need praise. Their reward is in becoming someone they're proud of even when no one else notices. Then comes the third way, consistency. If discipline is the fire, consistency is the fuel. Anyone can work hard for a day. The real question is, can you show up every day? Can you work through boredom, through doubt, through setbacks? Because real growth isn't built in breakthroughs. It's built in small, seemingly insignificant actions repeated relentlessly. A writer writes even when the words don't flow. An athlete trains even when no game is near. An entrepreneur builds even when profit is far away. Quiet builders understand this. They trust the compound effect of effort. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They work with what they have, where they are, because they know that greatness is a quiet accumulation of effort, not a sudden explosion. The fourth way is learning. Not just formal education, but real, ongoing, intentional learning. Quiet builders are students of life. They ask questions. They observe. They read. They listen. They fail not to collapse, but to understand. They treat every experience as a teacher, every obstacle as a lesson. And they never assume they've arrived, because the moment you think you know it all is the moment you stop growing. Learning humbles you. It reminds you that mastery is never final, that every expert was once a beginner who stayed curious. And in the quiet, away from applause, they sharpened their skills, studied their craft, and refused to let ego stop their evolution. Now, the fifth way, solitude. This is not isolation. This is sacred space. Time alone is where clarity is born. In a distracted world, solitude becomes a superpower. Quiet builders crave it, not because they fear people, but because they value presence. They use solitude to reset, to recharge, and to remember who they are without the world's noise. In solitude, you hear your inner voice more clearly. You align your intentions with your actions. You return to your purpose. And most importantly, you realize you don't need constant validation to keep moving. You don't need to announce every step. You just need to keep stepping, quietly, purposefully, relentlessly. And finally, the sixth way is purpose. Purpose is what turns quiet effort into loud impact. It's the reason behind the work, the fuel behind the fire. Purpose gives meaning to struggle and direction to effort. When you know your why, the how becomes secondary. Quiet builders don't just want success. They want significance. They want their life to matter. And that doesn't require a stage or a spotlight or an audience. It just requires alignment. When your actions match your purpose, you feel whole. And when you feel whole, you no longer chase noise. You create impact. So why build yourself quietly? Because quiet doesn't mean invisible. Quiet means focused. Quiet means strategic. Quiet means unstoppable. The seed that grows into a mighty tree starts in darkness, buried under pressure, unseen by all. But it grows anyway. It reaches anyway. And one day it stands tall, not because it demanded attention, but because it earned its strength in silence. We live in a time where people broadcast their highlights and hide their pain. But the most powerful people you'll ever meet are the ones who built their strength in the silence of their struggle. They chose growth over glamour, progress over popularity, depth over display, and now they walk through life with a calm confidence that doesn't scream. It simply is. You don't need everyone to see your hustle. You just need to keep hustling. You don't need to post your every move. You just need to keep moving. The most dangerous weapon is someone who's focused, determined, and undistracted. Someone who doesn't need to be seen to be valuable. Someone who doesn't seek to impress, but to improve. So ask yourself today, not what you can show the world, but what you can become in silence. Can you show up for yourself every day, even when no one claps? Can you work with patience, knowing that the roots come before the fruits? Can you trust the slow, invisible process of becoming? This world needs more builders, not talkers. More doers, not dreamers. More people committed to the quiet work of transformation. So let the world sleep on you. Let them underestimate you. Let them doubt. Because when the time is right, your results will speak for themselves. And that voice will be louder than any announcement you could ever make. Quiet doesn't mean passive. Quiet means powerful. It means strategic. It means strong. So embrace it, honor it, protect it, build in silence, and let your life make the noise. You don't owe the world your every move. You owe yourself your best effort. Keep your head down. Keep your heart strong. Build yourself quietly by knowing yourself, by staying disciplined, by being consistent, by learning every day, by valuing your solitude, and by living with purpose. The results may take time. But remember this song, the best things always do. Now go, build, not for the eyes of others, but for the soul within. The world may not be watching, but greatness doesn't require an audience. It just requires commitment. And that's something only you can give. Build yourself quietly. The world will hear you soon enough. There's a truth we don't hear enough today. A truth buried beneath social media highlights, flashy lifestyles, and the endless pressure to prove ourselves. Real growth happens in silence. Not under the spotlight, not in front of an audience, but behind closed doors. In the early mornings when no one else is awake. In the late nights when everyone else has quit. In the quiet, uncomfortable moments where your only competition is the person you were yesterday. We live in a noisy world, a world that equates being seen with being successful, a world that tells you if it's not posted, it didn't happen, that if no one's clapping for you, you must be doing something wrong. But the truth is, success doesn't demand attention. It demands something far greater. It demands discipline. It demands consistency. It demands inner strength, the kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that gets up every day and shows up regardless of who's watching. Think about a seed planted in the soil. For weeks, sometimes months, there's no sign of life above ground. From the outside, it looks like nothing's happening. But deep underneath, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is being built. The foundation is being laid. It's silent. It's unseen. But it's essential. Because without that silent growth, the plant will never survive the wind, the rain, or the weight of its own success. That's what real growth looks like. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not immediate. It's early mornings when your alarm rings and no one's there to cheer you on, but you get up anyway. It's late nights filled with quiet work. Books studied, reps done, emails sent, plans written. While the world sleeps. It's staying disciplined when the motivation is gone, staying consistent when the results are invisible, and staying grounded when the journey feels endless. Discipline is the bridge between what you want and what you achieve. It's not exciting. It's repetition. It's doing the small things over and over without applause. Discipline is the quiet force that pushes you out of bed when comfort says stay. It's what fuels those early sacrifices and long hours. And in silence, it sharpens you into someone unstoppable. Consistency is where the magic really happens. Anybody can be disciplined once or twice. Anyone can have a good day. But the question is, can you show up every day? Can you keep going when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one notices? Because success doesn't come from big things once. It comes from doing small things daily, quietly, faithfully, over time. And then there's inner strength, the most underrated power of all. This isn't about muscles or image. This is about resilience, mental toughness, emotional endurance, the kind of strength that helps you keep your head up when you fail, the kind that holds you together when life falls apart, the kind that tells you, I don't need anyone to believe in me right now. I believe in myself enough to keep going. You don't build that kind of strength in front of a crowd. You build it in the silence of your own self-doubt. You build it in the gym when it's just you and the weights, in the office when it's just you and your goals, in your mind where the battles are fought between giving up and going on. And here's the most powerful part. When you build in silence, you become unshakable because your confidence isn't built on praise. It's built on process. Your identity isn't built on followers. It's built on follow through. You no longer need attention to feel valuable. You become content with the grind, committed to the mission, and calm in your pursuit. So yes, real growth happens in silence. And the people who truly succeed, they're not always the loudest. They're the most consistent, the most disciplined, the strongest inside, not because they shouted their journey from the rooftops, but because they lived it when no one cared. And one day when they emerge, stronger, wiser, unstoppable, it won't be because they demanded to be seen. It'll be because they spent years building a version of themselves no one could ignore. So remember this, if you're in a season of silence, if you feel unseen, unnoticed, or underestimated, that's not a sign that you're failing. That's a sign that you're laying your roots, building the foundation. And one day soon, the world will see what you've been becoming all along. But until then, stay disciplined. Stay consistent, strong inside. Let the noise pass you by because you're not building for attention. You're building for greatness. And greatness always starts in silence. When we talk about building yourself quietly, we're not talking about staying still, hiding, or settling for less. Quiet building isn't passive. It's powerful. It means choosing a different path, a deeper one. It means walking away from the noise of instant gratification and stepping into the steady rhythm of mastery. Because to truly build yourself, not just to look successful, but to become whole, strong, capable, and fulfilled, you must commit to 6 life-changing practices. These 6 practices don't flash like fireworks. They don't trend on social media. They don't give you quick results, but they work. They transform. They elevate you from the inside out, and they do it quietly, patiently, powerfully. Let's begin with the first, self-awareness. This is the cornerstone of everything. You can't build a meaningful life if you don't know who you are, where you're starting from, and where you want to go. Self-awareness is the uncomfortable, humbling, courageous act of looking within. It's about asking yourself the hard questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What drives me? Truth or ego? Where am I lying to myself? What patterns do I keep repeating? When you're self-aware, you stop blaming the world. You stop chasing the wrong things. You stop being distracted by what's popular and start aligning with what's personal. Quiet builders know this. They don't just work hard. They work honestly. Because if your foundation is false, no matter how high you build, it will eventually collapse. The second practice is discipline. Discipline is the ability to keep promises to yourself. And in quiet growth, it is absolutely non-negotiable. Because when you're not building for attention, you don't have external pressure keeping you in line. There's no audience watching your every move. You're accountable only to you. And that's where most people fail, because it's easy to slack off when no one's watching. But quiet builders thrive in that space. They don't need someone clapping to do their best. They've trained themselves to push, to persist, to perform because they've decided that their future is worth the cost. Discipline means showing up when you're tired, working when it's boring, saying no when it's tempting, holding your standard high even when no one would know if you dropped it. It's not glamorous, but it's essential. You want to change your life. Discipline is the gatekeeper. Now, the third, consistency. Consistency is the evidence of discipline. It's the proof that you're not just inspired, you're committed. Everyone gets inspired. Very few stay consistent. That's because consistency is quiet. It doesn't give you results on the day 1, day 10, or sometimes even day 100, but it compounds. Every repetition, every routine, every small win adds up over time to something powerful. Think about it like this: a single drop of water means nothing, but a steady drip over time can carve stone. That's what consistency does to your life. It carves a path to mastery, to transformation, to a future that's stronger than your past. And when you pair that with the fourth practice, learning, you become unstoppable. Learning isn't just about gathering information. It's about evolving. Quiet builders are not just workers. They're students, constantly learning, always curious, never satisfied with what they know now because they understand that the world is changing and they must grow with it. They read, they observe, they listen. Not because someone told them to, but because they know that every skill learned, every lesson absorbed, every new perspective gained adds a layer to their greatness. They don't pretend to have all the answers. They're humble enough to ask questions. And that humility keeps them expanding, but powerfully. Then comes the fifth practice, solitude. In today's world, solitude is rare. And that's why it's so valuable. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's clarity, it's stillness, it's you away from the noise, reconnecting with your core. Most people fear being alone because in the silence, all the distractions are stripped away. You're left with your thoughts, your fears, your doubts, but also your truth, your voice, and your strength. Quiet builders seek solitude. They don't run from it, they run to it. Because in solitude, they strategize, they heal, they reflect. They get honest with themselves and reset. You can't hear your inner wisdom when you're constantly surrounded by external noise. Solitude is where you sharpen your focus and realign with your path. It's not weakness. It's preparation. And finally, the sixth, and perhaps the most essential, practice purpose. Without purpose, discipline fades. Consistency dries up. Learning becomes scattered. Solitude feels empty. Purpose is the why behind it all. It's the compass. It's what gives your quiet work meaning. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, no one needs to push you. Purpose pulls you. It carries you through the hard days. It reminds you that this path, no matter how quiet or lonely, matters. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or global. It just has to be true. For some, it's family. For others, it's freedom. Some, it's contribution. For others, it's healing. Whatever it is, let it light the fire inside you. Because purpose turns pressure into power. It gives you resilience. And quiet builders are not just trying to succeed. They're trying to matter. So if you want to build yourself quietly, truly, deeply, unshakably, commit to these 6 practices. Know yourself with brutal honesty. Discipline yourself with fierce integrity. Show up with unwavering consistency. Keep learning with endless curiosity. Embrace solitude with courage and intention. And live with a purpose that's too strong to ignore. These practices won't make headlines. They won't attract instant applause, but they will transform you from the inside out. And one day, while others wonder how you suddenly made it, you'll smile quietly because you'll know there was nothing sudden about it. It was the result of showing up every day in silence with strength, purpose, and intention. So don't chase loud victories. Master these quiet principles. Because if you can build with these 6 tools, you won't just reach success, you'll become it. We live in a world that thrives on spectacle, a world that glorifies big wins, viral moments, sudden breakthroughs. Success in the eyes of many is a celebration, a moment broadcasted, shared, and applauded. We see the championship trophy, the promotion, the grand reveal, the finished product. And naturally, we cheer. The world loves loud victories. But here's what the world often forgets: the celebration is only the surface. What lies beneath is what really matters. What the world sees in 10 seconds was often built in 10,000 hours. Hours spent in quiet, in solitude, in struggle. That is where the real transformation happens. Not when the lights are on, but when it's just you, your effort, your doubt, your dreams. The most powerful transformations happen in stillness, not because they're easy, because they're earned. Think about it. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly in the dark, underground, unseen. Inside the cocoon, there's no cheering crowd. There's only breaking down, reforming, reshaping, until it becomes something entirely new. That's what it means to transform. That's what it means to commit to becoming the best version of yourself when no one is watching. It takes courage to walk that path. Because in the stillness, you face yourself without filters, without distractions. And for many, that's the hardest part. The noise of the world gives us comfort, but the silence, that's where the truth lies. And it's in that silence that your true self begins to emerge, not the version of you others expect, not the version that fits in, but the real version, the strong one, the focused one, the one with clarity, purpose, and fire. When you choose to grow quietly, something incredible happens. You shift your motivation from external validation to internal fulfillment. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. And in doing so, you unlock a strength that can't be shaken because it wasn't given to you by others. You built it alone in the dark when no one believed in you, maybe not even yourself. That's why quiet transformation is so powerful, because it requires more than effort. It requires conviction. It requires showing up not because someone is watching, but because you refuse to settle, because you've made a vow to yourself that your potential is worth the pain, that the person you could become is worth everything it takes. And let me tell you something real. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. It's not pretty. Some days you'll doubt yourself. You'll question why you started. You'll wonder if it's all worth it. You'll feel invisible. But if you keep going, if you keep trusting that stillness is where strength is built, you'll look back one day and realize the struggle was the transformation. Because here's the true thing. You don't become great by being seen. You become great by being real. You become great when you turn off the noise and do the work. You become great when you keep your promises to yourself in silence. You become great when you're tired, tempted, and alone. But you stay the course anyway. Loud victories fade. Headlines change. Applause dies down. But who you become in the process, that's permanent. That's yours. And no one can take that from you. So if today you're in the middle of your own quiet transformation, if you're waking up early to chase a dream no one else understands, if you're grinding through a goal that hasn't yet produced results, if you're choosing growth over comfort day after day, don't stop. You're exactly where you need to be. You are in the cocoon, in the gym before sunrise, at your desk when the world is sleeping, in the struggle that nobody sees. And it might feel small now, but that's how every powerful transformation begins. Small, still, and unseen. One day when the results start to show, people will call you lucky. They'll wonder how it happened so fast. But you'll know it didn't happen fast. It happened quietly, in the stillness, in the shadows, in the relentless pursuit of your better self. So embrace the stillness, celebrate it. Don't run from the silence. Build in it, because the most lasting success, the kind that doesn't crumble with criticism, the kind that doesn't depend on attention, is forged when no one's watching. And when you finally rise, it won't be to impress the